Hi, my name's Lindy Cowling. Welcome to my channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. My email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. Title of this video this evening is August Energy Update, Purification of soul viruses and parasites. August Energy Update, the purification of soul viruses and parasites. So that's the general premise of this video. I might shorten the title a bit, it's a bit of a mouthful. So why I want to go in on this route is, as you know, this is an experiential channel, which means everything I share is being worked through and experienced personally by clients I am working with, or has been something that I have experienced myself, worked through myself, transition through myself, etc. So why am I calling this August Energy Update and soul viruses, soul parasites or energetic parasites, purification? It appears to me, and it seems to me by professional and personal experience, that we have reached a point at the moment where, in order for millions of people on this planet to become fully conscious, they are having to address certain layers of their personality, certain layers of their energy field, certain layers of their human experience, certain layers of their lives and the multidimensional soul that they are, in order to become self-aware, self-actualized and fully conscious. And as they work through the layers of getting to that point, they are able to detect and identify all that has been affecting them and infecting them on a personal and energetic basis. Anything that has been affecting and infecting them, that has been affecting their energy levels, their progress, and their process. And as they identify these layers, and I'm going to explain how people can do that from my perspective in a minute, they may well become aware of things that have affected or infected their perception or their well-being or their journey on any or all levels of multi-dimensionality, timelines, and the soul. So I'll try not to get too complicated. I always try and keep things very down to earth and very grounded, because despite having worked in La La Land for many years and the woo-woo land on this side of things, I am very well known for being very down to earth and grounded and anchored and reasonably balanced at this point in this stuff. I like to present it that way because that is how I am, and where appropriate, you know, I like to have a laugh really about some of this stuff, because it can get very serious and very heavy, and you know, I should know, having experienced everything that I'm sharing on this channel, but also working in it with other people. So I don't try and keep things light-hearted out of a false sense of brevity. What I'm saying here is what you see is what you get. So I'm being, let's say, authentic, and presenting it as a normal human being, because the majority of us are normal human beings going through this process. So as always, with all these videos, I like to start from the top, meaning I start from the energetic component, or the spiritual component, or the soul component, if you like. I start from there and then work my way down into us as the human being having the experiences we're having. So starting from the top, this video links in a little bit with the one I did a year ago on soul viruses. How I work is I very rarely look back at my videos. I keep promising to, but I very rarely do. So I can't remember a word of what I shared in that video, but it links back to that title from a year ago. So starting from the top, in the course of our experiences as multidimensional souls, and let me clarify what I mean by that. In the course of our experience, not just in this life, in this awareness, in this timeline, in this reality, in this dimension, but in the course of the simultaneous experiences of us as a multidimensional soul in all realities, in all parallel experiences, and in all timelines as multiple aspects of the same soul, so multiple cinema screens at the same time as the same soul. We are subject not only to the experience of life and life playing through us and our life experiences, both those amazing experiences and those not so amazing experiences on a planet that has been quite polarized, you know, two different ends of the spectrum for some time. We are also subject, just like we are with, let's say, man-made viruses, but also natural, let's call them natural viruses. So say catching a cold, for example. We are also subject to energetic viruses and energetic parasites. So not just the things like catching a cold or catching the flu and this kind of thing. We're talking energetic viruses and energetic parasites that can affect or infect any aspect of us as a multidimensional soul in any timeline, in any dimension, including the here and now. As you go up in your understanding and your awareness, and as you descend from the head into the heart as part of your journey of ascension, which is the transference, the gradual transference as a process from the consciousness of your ego and head running the show to your heart portal, in fact, governing you as in your human experience, governing your perception and governing your consciousness, your awareness, your reality. As you go through that process, many things can be revealed to you. The truth of who you truly are, the diamond in the middle of the dirt, the diamond consciousness, the reality of who you are as a being, the reality of who you are as coming as a spark of source or from source, the reality of who you are minus the strong drama or strong trauma in your life, the reality of who you are when that is, I'm going to say absent. It doesn't even have to be absent from your life to get to that point. What I mean is the reality of you in a neutral 0 point field of energy. In other words, the reality of you minus the dramas, the triggers, the projections from you or from others onto you, the judgments, the society programming, the peer programming, the programming from family, I almost said fairies, the programming from family, the programming from the village you live in, the town you live in, from the television, from media, from social platforms, all of these things are programming from schools, on and on it goes. It's you at your, let's say, your most pure state, your original state, almost like your newborn baby state, you at your purest state, minus all of that, in a let's say a peaceful, neutral state of awareness without any of that on it. To get back to that, so let's say you were that before you incarnated as the multidimensional soul in all aspects of soul, in all ways, shapes and form. To realize that, become self-realized and actualized as a human being, realizing it in this lifetime, involves the stripping away over a period of time as a process many different aspects of what I just listed. So it cannot be done overnight. And there are some aspects of it you will not see. You won't see that overnight. It is a series of revelations, realizations over a period of time. I would say over a period of years. Yes, it's speeding up just as our awareness of, let's say, in inverted commas, time is changing, and all of that side of things. Things are moving much quicker, and people are getting to those states of consciousness and racking through them quicker to get to that 0 point field, fully conscious. It still takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Even if you have a sudden awakening or sudden soul shock, sudden changes, world changes, or changes in your personal life, you don't become fully realized or actualized or fully conscious just at a drop of a hat. It's you're working your way through a process. As this starts to happen, it doesn't, well, some of it is just natural, but of course it's heavily influenced by what you're doing in your conventional reality, how you're spending your time, who you're spending your time with, what you're focusing on. Are you being spoon-fed your version of reality by what you're watching, what you're eating, what you're drinking, what drugs you're taking, what alcohol you're drinking, what people you're around, what you're watching on television, what games you're playing? Are you being spoon-fed by various means, and hugely by media means, what you think reality is and the parameters that you're in? Becoming conscious is hugely affected and infected by those kind of things, because what I'm talking about in terms of soul viruses and energetic parasites or soul parasites is they can be contaminated. There can be contaminants on many things. There can be contaminants on videos you watch, games you play, programs you watch, people you associate with, areas you visit, etc., 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 etc. You can see it goes on and on, just like physical viruses, where someone who has some really nasty virus, say they're streaming ears, nose and throat, they're not washing their hands, they go and touch the door handle, they go into a room, someone else comes along, they touch the door handle. It's the same kind of thing. Energetic parasites work in a not unsimilar way. They contaminate by attaching mainly to the unconsciousness or the subconsciousness of the individual. So you're not engaging consciously. Nobody engages consciously to catch any kind of virus or contaminant. Says, oh, hey, today's a day. Let's get this nasty old contaminant. Let's do this. It's a very unconscious thing, and until people are aware of it, of course, they can't do anything about it. They, you know, some people outside of them may be aware of it. If somebody works in energetic work and they know what they're doing, they can identify it, they can help remove it, whether it's an actual contaminant in a, let's say, a parasitical form, whether it's a soul virus that is doing soul damage, or whether it is a thought form, because they are all, let's say, horses out the same stable, but they are different components. A thought form in parasitic form is not as heavy duty and not as troublesome and easier, shall we say, to deactivate or remove than something that's really gotten into the energy field. How does it get into the energy field, you may ask? It gets in via your emotional body, your pain body, component to it, the emotional component to it. So if there is some emotional whack to it, the parasite or the contaminant, if you like, and virus can kind of hook in, let's say hook in far more easily, because you already have, let's say your Achilles heel is there, or you've got a weakness there, or you've got, let's even say, wide open there. So let's give you an example here. Say you're already feeling very low and very depressed, and your normal, let's say, defenses, just like if you were trying to fend off a cold or the flu. If you're feeling really lousy and coldy or fluey and really depressed, you're more likely to catch colds and flus and things like that. I mean, we know this, science will back it up. It's the same kind of thing. If you're running a low point of energy, you're demoralized, your energy is very low, it's been building up for a long time, and you are in that emotional state, and you're more likely to pick up, shall we say, these kind of energetic or even like soul parasites and soul viruses. As you can also, it's true to say that this can also happen if you are, let's say, connected with people and you don't have good energetic boundaries. So you don't have good energy boundaries. So people kind of come into your energy field. They're all over your energy field. Of course, it's like any virus. It transfers from host to host. How you become aware of this is, again, as you become fully conscious, as you have your various rungs on this process of wake-up call, you may be aware of these contaminants affecting or infecting the way you feel, the way you think, your energy levels, illness, sickness, physical illness and sickness, the way being around certain people affects you, etc., etc., etc. Now, it's important for me to say, just to bring a balance and perspective here, you can have all of those things and them not be anything to do with energetic parasites, soul parasites or soul viruses. Absolutely true. But the perspective I'm bringing here is that you can also have those things and that be a component in it. And I feel that this kind of thing is kind of been rife for a long time. It's not a new thing. What is new is that as we become conscious, we can spot them. So we can spot them in other people and do something about it, but people can spot it within themselves. One way that I've heard mention of, and one way that I could say to you people use to help detach and extract these kind of things, is to take people into a meditative state, or there's some form of, let's call it psychic surgery, energetic removal of it. But, and this is a big but, if the set of circumstances, the energetic component, the emotional component, your emotional component is still there that allowed it entry in the first place, or your circumstances are still there that allowed entry in the first place, then it's like healing from the bubonic plague and then going back into a room full of people with bubonic plague. I mean, you're just going to keep reinfecting. So it's really the awareness or the consciousness, becoming conscious underneath is everything, because it's the understanding of what it is and how that's got there in the first place, how you contracted it. And I'm not going to use the words, you notice the word I'm using here, I'm being very, let's say, very grounded, very anchored, very, in some ways, logical and plain speaking about it, just like I would if I was talking about viruses, normal viruses that people catch. It's no more, in a way, woo-woo than that. We know, and we've known for generations, all about thought forms, and that they are actual real energy, that what you think about enough, and enough concentration of thought form becomes an actual energetic mass that can take on all shapes and sizes. It's along the same lines, but it goes one step further. So in form of soul parasite or soul viruses, it actually gets in, just like a virus gets in and bypasses your immune system. So it gets in. So it's not like a thought form doesn't get in. A thought form attaches to the energetic bodies, and yes, they can play havoc, and there can be great thought forms or not so great ones. The parasitical nature of soul parasites or energetic parasites and soul viruses, energetic viruses, means that they gain entry. They gain entry in multiple ways. We perhaps didn't know they could gain entry, and so in some ways were wide open energetically. We were unconscious. These come in subconsciously, again, by the myriad of ways I've just listed to you, by the way that you have this automatic lack of boundaries for certain people. Like, for example, we don't have, let's say, naturally, we don't naturally have boundaries, energetic boundaries with mum and dad, for example, by the nature of them being mum or dad. So there's an automatic bypass to any boundary you put up. There's some people that come into our lives, and particularly if we're empathic or very sensitive, we have to learn sometimes the hard way to have boundaries in place, because that we don't have those automatic boundaries up for when people connect with us on many energetic levels as well. And that can be a process of osmosis where an energetic or soul energetic virus or soul parasite gains entry. These are easy ways of describing how this happens. So again, there will be people outside of you, especially that work in the light worker industry. And again, I hate that term. I wish we'd think of a new name for it, but there you go. Work in that industry that will say certain mantras or certain meditations, certain less psychic removal or surgery removal or energetic removal will help, or will do it, or will extract it. I'm sure for many people that actually works, not only because of the energetic work that the person is doing, but, and again I'm going to say big buts, also because the client, the person having the treatments, is at that point, let's say, more conscious, and conscious that such a perception is possible, and so are participating, an active participant in its removal. Again, this stuff is no good whatsoever if you are not addressing the emotional component and the boundary component of how access is gained in the first place. Otherwise, you would just run the risk of reinfecting again. I could also apply this to what I was also going to say there is, when you've become fully conscious of this kind of thing, you can, it's almost like once you've become conscious of something like that, you can spot it. So you are able to spot it in other people, but you're also able to detect it so that it's far less likely to come in around your energy field again. And of course, the more conscious you become and the more you go up those rungs of consciousness, of course, you get to a level at which, let's say, that contamination no longer happens because you're self-aware, self-actualized. It's making me laugh when I'm saying self-aware. It makes me, sounds like that line out the Terminator movies. When Skynet becomes self-aware, well, that's a whole different video, isn't it? But yeah, as we become self-aware and self-actualized and come into this state of awareness of all these things that I'm listing here, we're able to spot these things. Another thing that people use, and that resonates quite a lot with me as well, is sound. Certain sounds to clear these parasitical things through the energy field. I would go so far in saying that is can work with some people and is very helpful, whether it's done in a shamanic capacity or any other capacity, really, kind of like sound. What I would say is, not in all cases, but it can be very beneficial to understand in a way how this has started in the first place, so that you don't kind of repeat either that pattern, which of course you're less likely to do if you become conscious, but that you don't set up those same circumstances again if there's the emotional component to it. So, you know, there's no fast track ways to becoming fully conscious. It is a step by step, like stepping stones process. Some people, it happens quicker than others, but it is still a process. And you become aware of all these different things. And what I would say to you is, what I'm talking about here is not scary stuff, and it's not new. It's been around for millennia. What is new is that people, let's say the general public, are beginning to be aware of this kind of thing, and that's got to be a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And equally, you know, I could say, just as if we talk about shadow work and the shadow side of us, what is the shadow side of us? It's all the icky, yucky, gunky, fearful, horrible place within us, and things that we think about ourselves, things that have been projected on us about ourselves. That part of our personalities that we feel we repress or hide away or shove away because we think the world won't accept that, or our families won't accept that, or we were told it wasn't acceptable. And it's all filed away. And of course, it doesn't go away. It's all in there somewhere. And part of what I'm talking about here, I mean, how energetic and soul parasites and energetic parasites, soul parasites get a hold, and soul viruses, is of course they, let's say, feed on that aspect of it, because it's great feeding ground, and emotional pain is great feeding ground, and the unconscious is great feeding ground. Unresolved issues is great feeding ground for these kind of parasites and these kind of viruses. So again, integrating the shadow, which means, again, it can't be done overnight. Looking at those parts of you, and believe me, we all have them, everybody has them, that they don't feel very happy about, or they feel self-conscious about, or they are not accepting of, and actually bringing them not just up to the light within you, but actually into the love that is you, into the heart portal, into that state of consciousness where, well, again, that neutral 0 point field state of consciousness where there is nothing on it. There's no judgment. There's none of that on it. It's just total pure. It is what it is. Total. It's more than acceptance in a way, but it's kind of more than that. It is what it is. You can't do that overnight. Nobody can. And there's a vast quantities of this stuff you can do on your own, but there are some of it that I don't think you will be able to do on your own. Don't be beating yourself up about that. Go to who you're drawn to for that help. It might be different kinds of therapies that you go to, different kinds of people. Please be discerning. I always say this. I guess go to where you're drawn to go to. I'm saying be discerning, make sure that you, whatever treatment you go for, you resonate with the person or the therapist or the treatment. And if you don't, you know, try it once, then walk away. It's important for me to say this because the therapist can also have these parasites on them or in them. And, you know, that again, it's important for me to say belief systems have those parasites on them and in them. Including twin flame union arena has parasites on them and in them. And that is legit. And I've been talking along these lines for a number of years, having been on the receiving end of that and seen it in a vast quantity of people connected with that arena. So it's not just in that arena, it's worldwide and global, just as viruses are worldwide and global. Whether those viruses are, let's say, naturally occurring or non-naturally occurring, man-made, or other ways of coming in, they're as common as that, these energetic components. What is new is that the general population are becoming more aware that such a thing is possible and what to do about it. And like I say, there are some people that you can go to that can help extract them. There's nothing new to that. I've been aware of that for a number of years, at least 17 years I've been in the industry. There are a number of people that can do that. What is new is that there's a general awareness of it now, and that people, let's say, as they are waking up, are perhaps spotting these elements of it now. And the bottom line here is to not keep reinfecting by repeating the same unconscious behavior, unconscious emotions, by reattaching or letting it reattach. There is no limitations to where these parasites can attach to, what chakra that they can attach to or cling to. What I would say is the most, I mean, over the years, let me say, before I go into my next point, over the years, I have seen them try to affect people's hearts opening by going over the top of that chakra, and experienced that myself many years ago on me. But also it is very commonplace for them to gain entry point through the lower chakras. Why? Well, it doesn't really take much working out. The lower chakras all being about survival, rooting here on the earth. They're the more, let's say, the more physical chakras, the more linked with the egotistical chakras, the more sexual chakras, survival chakras, which are the wave band that these kind of parasites and viruses come in on. The boundaries between people sexually, of course, notoriously wide open, shall we say, where people are not having the same boundaries there. They're interacting sexually or energetically with one or multiple partners, not realizing that their main concern might be to prevent a physical parasite, sexual disease, but in fact there is these soul transmissions of viruses and parasites going on. What is the great news here is that i.e. people are waking up to this now, but the great news is we are at an extraordinary point again, where as part of becoming conscious and all our old belief systems and what has been running us, not us running it, but running us, is coming out into this big reveal now. It's the amazing thing that is racking up as the year's gone on, and as we're about to hit August, is there is a massive purification going on, and it's a purification on every level. So it's a global purification of consciousness. It's a global purification of awareness. It's a global purification and awareness of everything that I've been talking about in terms of parasitical energies and viral energies with energetic components. There's a huge purge and purification going on, both in people individually and collectively. It's it's all going the right way. It's all moving to that fruition that we've been talking about for a long time. And this, what I'm talking about, is kind of part of it. So, you know, the bottom line here is we are at a point where once this stuff is sorted out, how it remains sorted out is you are in a process of, once you are fully conscious, you're still in that process of, because you're self-aware, being on top of this stuff until you get to a point in your consciousness where really that kind of thing doesn't affect and infect in the same way. I mean, there's not that many people that are at that point yet. There are a few that are at a point where they are self-actualized, self-aware, they are fully conscious, but they're still having to deal on a weekly basis with these things coming in, except they're aware of it and they sort of like transform it, or, you know, push it away or transmute it or whatever, both for themselves, the family, their clients, and, you know, the collective. It will hit a point eventually in global consciousness where that kind of stuff can't attach to the individuals or the bloodlines or the family lines, to people in the same way. We're not quite there yet, but we're on the way to it. So again, this big purification, how it might affect you guys individually is big stuff coming up for you. Belief systems, don't forget, it's not just in your families now and in your experience now. It's across all multi-dimensional aspects of you as a soul in all timelines at the same time, all aspects of you as a soul at the same time, all realities at the same time. There are many things I could say that may help you. There are mantras, there are lots of things I could say that may help you, and there are many other people that will have other ideas that I don't have. The bottom line is you can't bypass this bit of doing your own stuff, becoming self-aware, doing your own inner work. You must not bypass the emotional component of it. Sometimes understanding what something is and why it's affecting it the way it is, and understanding that it comes from another timeline or another time, is helpful. Sometimes it's not helpful at all. Sometimes we don't actually need to know fully where it came from. We just need to know how to ensure it can be removed, you know, that we are active in that process of making sure that we don't allow, you know, in terms of energetic boundaries, that to happen again. But also that we don't keep putting in the same set of circumstances, the same behaviour that allowed it in the first place, or the same emotional factors in the first place. We have a golden opportunity here. This is not just a global purification of us now as an individual, as our personality, and in our lives now. This is a universal purification of humanity as a whole, if you like. It's always much bigger than just us. So we are at a point here where for some people it's going to be quite challenging, because in order to integrate the shadow and in order to spot these things, it almost seems like you go backwards before you go forward. I always say the tide, when a wave comes in from the sea, it comes up the beach, but then it draws back a long way before it surges even further forward. It's the same kind of thing. It might seem like you're going retrograde for a bit before you go forward, because it isn't an entirely comfortable process when you're going through these things and facing fears that you didn't know you had. It can manifest, or it can manifest in a number of ways, and you sometimes can feel slightly worse before you feel better. You can have what we call healing crises. That would be most physically, mentally, emotionally, in all kinds of ways. Again, don't feel that you are on your own coping with this stuff. Get the support where you can get it. Whether you can get that physically through other human beings supporting you, friends or family, through the process, whether you get it professionally, whether you get it from watching YouTube or in some other ways, get the support that you need and don't feel that you're on your own when you're going through this, because you're not. It is a global phenomenon that's happening, not as a global punishment, but as a global state of purification to get this sorted out once and for all on a global scale, so that we don't have to keep going back to sleep or going back into that semi-coma state, going back into unconsciousness, so that we move forward and we stay moving forward, which of course, once we become fully conscious, that's what does happen. You don't become unconscious again. Once you've become fully conscious, you become fully conscious, and you still start going up through those rungs of awareness then. So I don't want to go on much longer. This is turning into a long video. I do hope that helps. Again, we're at, an interesting point of time. I was going to say exciting, but then that nearly made me laugh. I'm not going to say that it's entirely exciting. It is definitely interesting, the time that we're in now, as we are seeing these things in other people around us, and we are seeing it in the general population and aware of it, and we're seeing it within ourselves. And of course, the bottom line is no one ever wants to go and look at these things within ourselves, and you cannot get to become fully conscious without doing that. You cannot. You have to go there. It's a process. It takes time. There are different entry points to your awakening. Baby steps. Some things speed the process up more than others. Connecting with the same aspect of soul, or a close soul connection, or a catalyst or catalyst circumstances speed these things up. But you still have to get to a point of being aware. If you ask me, what do you mean self-aware, self-actualized? You get to a point where you realize all of this stuff not only is possible, but that has been affecting and infecting so many parts of your life. You get to a state of being able to see from, let's say, a higher perspective of your awareness. Then, I might bring out a later video. That's kind of part of it. But then you get to a state where you almost get, I won't go there now because this is really fodder, food for another video. But then you get to a stage where really you look at what being self-actualized and self-realized and self-aware is, and what is that, and what are you left with. A lot of people are afraid, afraid in their mind of shit. What am I going to be left with? If I realize everything that I've been programmed by and guided towards and felt I should do but didn't really want to do it for me, and all of these places that you can go with this, and you're embracing the more parts of you that you didn't even know you didn't love, etc., etc., the shadow side. And then people are quite afraid of shit, well, what does that mean? What am I left with? What am I left with if many of the constructs of my life, or what made me me, are suddenly absent? I think that's fodder for another video, really, and that's fodder for another video. It's nothing to be afraid of, and it's not like you taking away or knocking out all your so-called perceived support network or support systems. Quite the opposite. It's becoming, well, more empowered and more neutralized than you've ever been in your life. What do I mean neutralized? You are aware of who you are in a non-reactive state. When I say non-reactive, that does not mean non-emotional and non-human and just non-present. It means fully present, fully here, living alive in life, but without your life being governed by the perceptions, the perspectives, and the judgment and belief systems of anything or everyone around you. In other words, you're a sovereign being, you're in your sovereignty. this is probably food, again, fodder for another video because it's going to go on too long, but really hope that helped. Hope you found it interesting. Hope you found it inspiring. As always, thank you so much for watching this channel, supporting this channel. Thank you so much for subscribing to this channel. I will love you and leave you. And as we enter into August, obviously a lot going on in terms of astrology and that side of it. I don't really focus on that side of it, but I have an awareness obviously of it, and how that can heighten the things I'm talking about at those times and give us that impetus, if you like, to push forward that much more. So those kind of astrological, let's say, alignments and events are actually working in our favour. They're not making it more difficult. Thanks for watching, guys. I will love you and leave you, and see you again soon. Bye.